Welcome to Learn to Live Stress-Free. This is Christine Wright with Dr. Robert Wright Jr., your go-to wellness coaches of www.stressfreenow.info. We'd like to welcome back Master Coach and Attorney Dr. Gerry Tucker as our featured guest today, speaking about how a nightly practice of gratitude, affirmations, reading, and self-reflection can lead to a life filled with blessings and peace. The inspirational messages she shares in her recently released book entitled Bedside Chat, a book of inspiration and meditation. 7 years ago, Gerry began writing Bedside Chat for 100 of her closest friends. Each month, a newsletter filled with inspirational messages would be mailed to her friends. During this time, she also wrote poems for Mahogany Magazine and articles for the Villager newspaper and the Austin American-Statesman newspaper. She has taken the content of the newspapers and articles and created Bedside Chat. Gerry's mission is to, quote, help bring about a profound change for the better in the lives of other souls, to assist them in redefining their goals and objectives, evaluating how to make choices for positive change. God and I, working together, can do this. Whether serving on nonprofit boards, managing human resource problems, writing articles in newspapers, or conducting workshops, Gerry's passion is working with women to achieve their dreams. As a spiritual, career, and life coach, Gerry does individual private coaching, helping individuals tap into their purpose and passion in order to create a more fulfilling life. She graduated with a Juris Doctorate from the University of Texas at Austin, a master's degree from Howard University, and a bachelor's degree from Fisk University. She maintained a private practice for many years. Since that time, she has served as an education administrator specializing in human resources. Gerry is a certified professional career and life coach and enjoys writing and creating the space for individuals to redesign their life through defined goals and taking a spiritual approach to life. Gerry, welcome. We're glad to have you here again today.
I'm glad to be here, Christine and Bob.
Great, Gerry. Thank you again for joining us. During your last visit with us, you shared the wisdom contained in your book entitled Bedside Chat. Can you tell our audience how you came up with that title and about any challenges you faced and challenges that you had to overcome to get that book published?
Well, Bob, the idea came after talking with a friend who was having some personal challenges. And in talking with her, it occurred to me that she was really not listening at the time because she was so caught up in what was happening with her that she really was not present with me. And as we talked, I said, I wish there were a way for her to get this information at the time that she needs it so she can look at it and think about what she needs to do differently. And so it occurred to me that, each of us needs support and we need wisdom and we need reinforcement when we're going through challenges in life and when we have to make decisions. And so the first newsletter that I did in 1996 was actually written to my friend. And it contained articles and topics of interest related to what she was going through at the time. And from there I continued to write the newsletter. And the name came because I wanted people to, before retiring for bed in the evening, to just sit back and relax and take in these messages, words of wisdom, inspiration, messages from the Bible, things that could help them reflect on their day, but get ready for the next day in terms of what you can do differently. And so I came up with the name Bedside Chat. I really felt like I wanted to have a chat with them and to be at their bedside before they retired for the night so that they could get a positive message.
That is so beautiful, Gerry, and I want to thank you. It's what's great about that idea in my mind is that, in our country now there is just an epidemic of sleep deprivation. And so many people, many more people than we would think have problems with getting a good night's sleep, insomnia due to stress burnout, or just simply that they can't shut their head off. They get in bed and they've got these thoughts going, and then they also could have a tremendous amount of bodily tension. Some of it they will be aware of it, and some of it they're not. And so that would impede their sleep. So what I really like is that you are, through your book, Bedside Chats, are setting up a place where a person could set up a gentle ritual. And I think that's so important to realize that as you wind down your day, instead of falling asleep with the television on, that to have some ritual, like you're saying, a conversation. And so that is so beautiful. I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Bob.
I second Bob's motion, Jerry. Yes, ending your day connected to the good.
Yes.
It makes for a very good night's sleep. Jerry, your bio indicates, and obviously our conversations with you indicate, that you're a woman of faith. Could you share with our audience what that means in your day-to-day life, and how do you apply your faith in practical ways?
Christine, faith is very important to me. It's sort of the foundation of how I try to live my life. And I depend on it a lot. At work, I try to treat others as I want to be treated, but there are some times when people don't treat you the way you want to be treated. And those are the times I've learned not to be reactive, to take people at face value and to say bless you, because I know God only wants good for me. And so I try to integrate it in everything that I do. I try not to pass judgment on people. I try to listen more and validate others' concerns and issues without taking them on for me. And it's almost like, when you look at your values, faith is the underlying value to believe that the universe wants good for you. People may not, but the universe does, and it will help you get where you need to go. And I use it a lot in hiring people. You go through a long process of interviewing and asking the right questions and checking their skills and experience. But then when it comes down to it, I take all of that and I just sit back and say, okay, Lord, is this the right person to be here in this spot at this time? Because that person can be used. And sometimes it's the person who has the most skills, and sometimes it's not. And so my faith has led me to know that if you are making the right decisions for the right reasons, there are no mistakes. Things happen for a reason. And when you're in touch with the reason you're doing things, it usually works out well. And so faith kind of underlines everything I do. Now, I don't always voice it to people, but in terms of how I make decisions, how I look at things, I try to remember that there are always possibilities. Nothing's impossible. And that we're all here to give our gifts and talents. And while I may not like somebody or the way they operate, if they're supposed to be doing something because they're in the right place at the right time, then my job is not to be the obstacle. And so faith in people, in processes, and in my spiritual practice leads me to believe that all things work together for good.
Thank you so much. That was an answer that I felt, and I believe people in our listening audiences may have felt that. What strongly resonated with me, Jerry, about what you said was to avoid being reactive. That's almost expected in our day-to-day. So for you to just remind us that we don't have to live in a reactive way to situations, I know for me was a really excellent point. So I want to thank you for that in particular for me personally.
Thank you, Christine.
Now, Jerry, you're also a published poet. I know our audience would love to hear you read one or two of your poems. Would you read a poem for us and tell us why it's a favorite of yours?
Absolutely. I'll read you one that's called Give Up What No Longer Works for You. And it's one of my favorites because I'm still trying to learn the message to let it go. We get
a good reason to be a favorite.
Yeah, we get attached to things, and we rationalize that it's good for us, or we need to do this. Our mind helps us come up with all these reasons why. But our spirit is telling us to let it go, and we still hold on. So I'll read that one for your listeners. Give up what no longer works for you. Just let it go. Bury it in the dirt. Give it to the wind. Write it on a note and throw it away. Take it from your heart and your spirit. If it no longer works for you, you no longer need it. Give up what no longer works for you. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Beautiful. That is a very powerful message. There have been times in my life I just like to hold on for the sake of, being able to go around and complain. Yeah. So that is indeed a really beautiful message, and I want to thank you for sharing that poem with us, Gerry.
Well, Christine, do people really do that? Hold on to things so that they can complain? Huh?
A minor little grudge that we tell one person and the next and the next and the next. And
do men do that?
I'm sure they don't.
Yes, I think this is a people issue, and thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Gerry, that was a very lovely and touching poem, and I think given what your position is and what you do every day, what the beauty of it is that what you're showing is being able to allow your butterfly to come out of the cocoon. I think that's part of the beauty here, that revealing the transformational power of spirituality in such a gentle way that you're not coming across as beating people over the head and say you must do this or anything like that. In fact, your tone is so soothing. It's just like warm milk, or hot cinnamon with hot apple cider with a cinnamon stick. So thank you for that, and I know our audience and anyone who's heard that poem enjoys it, and I know why that's a favorite of yours. So I just want to switch gears here slightly. Gerry, earlier in your career, you were a practicing attorney. How has having that type of legal experience and skill set helped you in your work as a coach?
Well, Bob, as you can imagine, being a family law attorney, there were many times with my clients they were in conflicts and anger and distrust and fights over the house and kid. And I can tell you I even had one case they fought over the dog and the sofa that they loved so much. So I had to learn mediation and negotiation very early in my career, else I would not have lasted. Trying to get people to find a middle ground was very important. And so I found that I also had to counsel my clients not to be angry, because that anger just eats you up. I tried to get them to see that, they were at a point in life that they had to make changes, and while they wanted to blame the other person, that didn't change anything. And so I had to use the negotiation and mediation skills with my clients to get them to look at the transition process and what they needed to do differently to move on with their life. And I can tell you that those that could not move on were very miserable. But those who understand that when you're in a transition, there's a point at which you decide you're going to cross the bridge and get on the other side and keep moving because you value your life and yourself and you want to continue. If you sit on that bridge and have a pity party and get angry and start thinking about how you get back at the other person, your life becomes miserable. And so having developed that over a long career as an attorney, I was able to transfer those skills to human resources and my coaching, helping people make the shift, make the decision to live a better life.
Gerry, that is just breathtaking and extraordinary. So sounds like you've had a wonderful career and body of work touching people's lives through the years. Audience, we will be back in a moment listening to more of what Gerry Tucker has to share on Learn to Live Stress-Free with myself, Christine Wright, and Dr. Bob Wright, Jr.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Wright, Jr., the Stress Relief Doctor, co-host of the Learn to Live Stress-Free podcast series. I'm an author, speaker, and stress management wellness coach. My published study is the first to show the connection between stress reduction, grief recovery, nitric oxide spiking, and the relaxation response. And my practical application of this knowledge helps you relieve the stresses of everyday life. I have the tools to dissolve your pain points quickly and effectively. Email me to find out how you can start to feel better now at stressfreenow.info/contact. That's stressfreenow.info/contact. Have you been procrastinating about completing an important project or pursuing a treasured dream? Christine Wright specializes in helping her coaching clients to lay out clear, elegant strategies. She shows you how to quickly build your confidence to uncover and eliminate your habitual patterns of resistance and self-sabotage. Christine helps you discover those meaningful insights that will get you to do what works so you can celebrate your successes. Go to stressfreenow.info/contact to let Christine know that you're ready to live your ideal life now. Again, that's stressfreenow.info/contact.
Welcome back to Learn to Live Stress-Free. We're speaking with our featured guest, Gerry Tucker, about her new book, Bedside Chat.
Gerry, right before the break, you talked about a little bit about your expertise as a family law attorney and the fact that you had to up your game in terms of the mediation skill set. One of the things that I've always found interesting, and I think this is an ideal opportunity to have someone with your level of expertise and authority. I imagine, dealing with divorces, you ran into cases where you're dealing with parties where there's a high need to be right and to win. The person wants to get even, et cetera. So, but my question is this: based on your experience, what are some good strategies that a person can employ when they're dealing with individuals who can't be reasoned with, and that, they'll cut their nose off to spite their face? Because, I've seen too many situations where people, you can't seem to reason with them, and they are having an irrational behavioral thing going on.
Well, Bob, actually, I try to get my clients and my friends to understand that for that person, whatever they're holding on is not the real issue. There's something else going on with them that you can't fix. So while they have this issue, particularly in a divorce, this is the issue that I'm fighting about, the house. It's really not about the house. It's about loss of control, maybe loss of power. You can't fix that for that person. So what I try to get my clients to understand is that you don't have to react to everything. Because a person says something that is mean, I always say, they want to get in that last dig before it's over. You don't have to react to that. You can look at it, bless it, and keep your goals in mind. Because that person is doing that to get you off center. And that's not easy to do, I know, because it takes a lot of work. But when you get to that point where you understand that it really isn't about you, you can walk away from it. The other is I try to get people to remember they always have a choice. And you don't have to make a choice depending upon what someone else wants you to do. You get to sit back, tap into your spirit, and say, what do I want? What's consistent with my life and my values? And let me go with that. The other is it is so important to learn to connect with your spirit and where you are. I've been in arguments, and in the midst of the argument, my spirit will say, you are getting out of control. And that helps me to say, oh, yes, I need to shift. I'm letting this person get to me. And because it's my spirit, I can back off, connect with my spirit, and be at peace that I'm not going to be in the ring with that fight going on. I get to make a choice about how I want to handle it. And I think too often we just give away our power because we feel hopeless and we give up without realizing that, we have responsibility for what's happening. We don't have to react. We can initiate. We can be proactive. And we can make a choice based on what we really want and what will make us happy. And those are the things I'd like to share with your listeners in terms of the lessons that I have learned.
Well, Gerry, I am so happy I asked that question because that is affirmation for some very good advice, which is basically stay on your perch don't get knocked off your perch, and don't get faked out, because as you said, when somebody is up in your grill, and should you take it personally, then you could have really bad outcomes. And so a bad outcome could be road rage or sitting around the table, that type of thing where the person is pounding. So thank you for that advice to our listeners, because I know there's somebody out there who is facing that situation, and they come up all too often where, as you said, the causation is that you can't fix what the issue is for that other person. I really like that answer from you, Gerry. So thank you so much, and I know our listeners like that answer too.
Yes, Gerry, thank you. I'm thoroughly enjoying this along with Bob. When we were in having a conversation offline, Gerry, you had spoken about life in Austin, and Bob and I thought we would put that question to you here during our show today. We keep hearing good things about Austin, especially that it's, blossoming with creativity and new business startups. From your perspective, what makes Austin so attractive to entrepreneurs and others, that they're moving to Weird Austin in droves?
Well, they are indeed moving in droves, Christine. And we like that, but it has definitely gotten crowded here in Austin. I think it's the energy of the people in this city. It's an alive city, and you can feel it wherever you go. People are cordial and friendly and open. I have to share with you that my mom is from New Jersey, and when she came to visit me one time, we were in the grocery store, and I was saying hello to everybody. And she was like, "Do you know these people that you're saying hello to?"
I love it.
And I said, "No, Mom, that's just our culture. We're open and creative and inviting, and we want to share life with each other." And so I think it's just that kind of place. It's youthful and opportunistic, and it's just a wonderful place to live. And I've enjoyed being here.
It sounds beautiful. I'm enjoying it through you. Thank you, Gerry.
Yeah, Gerry, that's great, because as Christine mentioned, we've been hearing fabulous things about Austin. So, Gerry, in your career as a life coach, can you give some examples of how you help clients to be more successful in their careers? And also, would you give our audience a few career tips that they can use to enhance their own chances for career success?
Yes, Bob. I've worked with a lot of individuals who are making a transition either voluntarily or involuntarily. And I try to instill in them the belief that they always have a choice as to how they're going to take something, whether it's a new job or being let go or being laid off, that it's their choice as to how they deal with that situation. And so some of the best, or I should say some of the successes that I've enjoyed, is when I help a client who has been laid off or has been let go find their place. And it's often a matter of getting them to understand that because your gifts and talents are not being used or wanted at one place does not mean that they can't be used somewhere else. But I think far too many of us are not clear about what our gifts and talents are and how we're contributing those gifts and talents to others. And so in my practice, I get the most joy out of helping people identify what they're good at and what they can contribute, what makes them happy, what they're passionate about, and then how to go use that in their life and their career. And I think the points that I try to instill in them is that you do have a choice, that there are many opportunities out there. We limit ourselves in terms of thinking, well, I've got this job or I'm going to get laid off and there's nothing else out there. There are loads of opportunities out there if we will open ourselves up to seeing them and connecting with people who can help us get there. Too often we shut down when we're not happy at work or we're not pleased with where we are related to the workplace. But that's the time to open up and to connect with people and to share with them where you're wanting to go, what your dreams are, what you want to do differently, so that you can begin to open those doors. And I guess lastly is, for them to understand that the relationship between themselves and their spirit is very important. It helps guide you. And if you listen to it and take care of it, it can really open doors for you. But I think we're so busy that we forget to take time for self and to love ourselves. If you ask yourself, what would you do to help make you happy? I don't know that many of us have the right answer. But I encourage your listeners and my clients to really take time for self, because that's what matters. If self is not healthy, there's not a lot you can do. But it does take practice. It does take a ritual. It does take being aware of the fact that you have a spirit, you have a soul that can give you answers and help guide you in life. You don't have to do it alone. And if I can get my clients to work on that, I feel like I've done something well.
Wow, Gerry, I'm just checking to see if Christine is floated up to the ceiling with your answer. I know there are many listeners out there that feel the way we do, and I know the several of the things that there are actually so many of the things that you said that Christine and I have those kind of conversations, especially. I know there are many people you have just touched with your comments, because what you have said is so on point and it's so relevant that I believe you'll be getting calls and emails.
I look forward to it, Bob.
Because that is just very touching. As we wind down here, Gerry, I want to ask you this question. You have so much experience dealing with various nonprofits. Can you briefly share with our audience how that involvement is pertinent to your writing?
Bob, the basis of my involvement with nonprofits, it really is a philosophy that we all have to give back our gifts and talents. And so by giving back my gifts and talents, I have learned to connect with people, and I've learned how important the spirit is in terms of reacting and interacting with people. And so being involved really just heightened my communication with people, my love for people. And so that's what I like to write about, is how do you connect with life and with people so that you're having a better life. And I'm always seeking to help others use their gifts and talents to help others, because that's what being a nonprofit is about. And so for me, it gets all interrelated, the giving, being grateful, making a difference in your community, and giving back to those that are around you. And I've been so blessed just to have the opportunity to do that. I feel like I have to share that with others, that it works. When you live a spiritual life and you give to others, whether it's nonprofits or to your family or in some other way, you get it back threefold. It does work.
Thank you so much, Gerry. Bob and I, again, we can't say it enough, really found so much value in listening to what you had to share today. And I know our audience did too. I mean, the message of incorporating spirituality in your life and in your career and your work is just a great source of sustenance. So would you share with our audience, Gerry, how they can get in touch with you and learn more about the great work that you're doing?
Well, I'd love them to email me at spiritworks48@gmail.com, or they can go to my website, which is thespiritworks.net, and I'd be happy to interact with them.
Okay, excellent. Gerry, we want to thank you so much for being on our show. Again, audience, you can check in with Gerry on her website, thespiritworks.net, or email her at spiritworks48@gmail.com.
Thank you. Gerry, what final thoughts or key ideas would you like our audience to take away from today's broadcast?
Bob, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with your listeners. And I think what I would want to encourage them to do is to really find their life purpose by being able to identify their gifts and talents, and then going within and listening to their spirit as to how they can use that to make a difference in their community. When we all contribute our very best, our workplace and our communities can be a better place for all of us. And so I hope they will get involved and tap into their spirit wherever they are.
I don't know, Jerry. Your message is so uplifting, but I'm trying not to be weepy. Oh, my goodness. It's so powerful. And so I want to thank you so much for being our featured guest today. And I feel moved. I know Christine feels the same way, and I know there will be people in our audience who have been moved. So I want to thank you again, Jerry, for being our featured guest today. And thank the audience members for listening wherever they are and whatever time zone they happen to be in. You know, our show is heard worldwide, and we've been surprised when we've looked to see where our listeners, or at least some of our listeners, are located. We appreciate your presence and trust that you'll benefit in some way from the information delivered to you in today's show. We welcome and look forward to you receiving your comments about our show. Please let us know if there are additional topics you'd like us to cover, or if there's a guest you enjoyed so much you'd like us to invite them back. Please contact us through our website with your feedback and suggestions. Remember, listeners, if you'd like to experience the same benefits our coaching clients get with us, including learning how you can get more results in your day and easy ways to dissolve your chronic pain, stress, and anxiety, then give us a call at 954-900-2179. Call today to schedule your appointment. That's 954-900-2179. For Christine Wright, this is Dr. Robert Wright, Jr. of www.stressfreenow.info. Until next time, be safe and be well.